Hello and welcome in to Talkin Hawkin episode 1. So excited to get this thing started, and man, are we starting hot here. Pete Carrol, after 14 years as the Seahawks head coach, is out. Jody Allen released a statement yesterday saying his position will be, quote, evolving from coach to an advisory role, and what that means, we don't really know yet. Some are saying he might be up with John, helping him out in the front office in the GM role. But in his presser yesterday, he said he was excited to watch John take over and shine. So to me, that means he's probably going to be more of an advisory to Jody Allen, which is great in my opinion. Pete knows this organization in and out, so I think for however much longer Jody is here as the owner, she'll be a better one with him around. Obviously, I love Pete. I love what he brought us a Super Bowl. But I'll be the first to admit, I was one of the many calling for Pete Carroll's firing after this year. As much as he is a great leader, motivator, players coach, I mean, he's great with the guys in the locker room. It's the X's and O's that were really lacking the last couple of years. Seattle produced 2 bottom 7 defenses in the NFL the last 2 years. And before that, it wasn't much better. For a defense guru to allow such horrible defenses is pretty useless if you ask me. If I had a defensive guy, I want the defense to be a better part of my team. I want it to be the better half. We had guys like Bobby Wagner, Jamal Adams, Leonard Williams half the year, Devin Witherspoon, Rookie of the Year in my opinion, Tariq Woolen, Julian Love, Jordan Brooks, Jaron Reed, Draymond Jones, 2 great free agent tackles/ends that we brought in, and Uchenna Nwosu unfortunately missed a lot of the year, but was great to start the year. That talent greatly underperformed for us. And you got to question why. At some point, it becomes more than the players, and it gets to coaching. Now, Clint Hurt, who's the defensive coordinator this year, will almost 100% be gone next year, as the new head coach will want his own coordinators to staff around him. Maybe you can put some blame on him, but Pete firmly had the say on what went on in this defense. I don't care what you say, Pete ran that defense. The scheme, player decisions, who's starting, who's not, and the fear of getting beat deep all come from Carroll. His overwhelming inability to let his DBs play man made our defense wildly predictable and easy to beat. Seattle ranked top 3 in cover 3 percentage this year, and that's kind of been the story since he got here. It's not working, and I'm not trying to say cover 3 is the worst and we shouldn't run it, and never ever run cover 3. But when you're running your DBs 20 yards back every play and allowing free first downs to your opponents, letting guys like Bobby Wagner, Devin Bush, Jordan Brooks, even Boye Mafe is dropping back into coverage to defend, max contract wide receiver. Think about the wide receivers that are in our division. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, what's his name? Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. You have all these guys and George Kittle, you can count George Kittle as well, just running around in the middle of the field catching whatever they want. Nobody's covering because we got everybody back there in deep thirds. All of our good coverage players are back there in deep thirds, and our linebackers are terrible in coverage. And yeah, we saw the second half of the year when these teams figured out that we just did that every game, every day that we went out on that football field, we got scorched in the middle of the field. And our defensive rankings dropped to, I think, is it 27th this year? I'm not sure. I gotta check that later on. But I think something is philosophically wrong if you can see all that stuff going on. I was watching a video from Brendan Nelson the other day. Shout out to Brendan Nelson, Seahawks Brendan Nelson. Huge inspiration for this channel, actually. I get a lot of my news about what's going on with the Seahawks from him. He's really good, so go check him out. He really opened my eyes up to this stuff the other day in one of these videos. Did you know that our 2 best corners, Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon, are number 1 and number 3 respectfully in man coverage this year? I thought that was just wild. We are one of the lowest users of man coverage, with 2 of the best sitting there in zone coverage, wasting all their talent. Using man coverage opens up the defense incredibly. Blitzes can be so much more diverse and effective with strong man coverage. More blitzers are able to be used, and your safeties in Diggs and Love, no, I don't think Adams will be back, can really just go out and be ball hawks and half zones over the top. That's what they're good at. We've seen it since both of them got here. 4 picks for Love this season. Since he's gotten to Seattle in 2019, 18 picks for Quandre Diggs. That's amazing. Let these guys roam downfield. Woolen and Spoon lock up on the outside, and the front 7 demolish quarterbacks. So I want to see a DC who can really understand that and execute it at a high rate. So going on over to coaching hires, if you've seen anything, Dan Quinn is the overwhelming favorite to be the predecessor to Pete Carrol. It makes too much sense. He was here in the LOB days as the DC. He won a Super Bowl with us, and he was truly great at his job. He built that Legion of Boom defense. Then he goes to Atlanta as a head coach, takes them to a Super Bowl. They obviously lost to Tom Brady. We all remember 28-3. And he gets fired like a year later on. That's the ending of his head coaching tenure so far. And then he goes to Dallas, and he's a DC once again, and his defense has been absolutely amazing. Micah Parsons and that defense have just been tearing it up for the past 2 or 3 seasons. And now he's ready to be a head coach again. He leads some really great defenses and obviously is very good at getting the most out of his players. But for a franchise looking to make a hard shift from the Carroll era, I don't think you should pick a more similar coach. I don't think you could pick a more similar coach than Dan Quinn. He's a product of Pete's tree, not that it's a big tree or anything. He got most of his knowledge and philosophies from Carroll. How do we expect a big change this year with Dan Quinn at the helm? You don't. Now, there are other defensive coaches out there looking for a great situation like Seattle. We got Mike Vrabel from Tennessee. He got fired. Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator for Baltimore, leading, I think it's got to be like a top 3 defense this year. Steve Wilkes, the 49ers defensive coordinator, again, probably a top 3 defense. And even Bill Belichick, just to throw that in, he got fired today as well as the time I'm recording this. But if you look around the league, 90% of the successful teams have offensive-minded coaches. That's why all these defensive coaches are getting fired. Usually younger guys full of fresh ideas for how offenses should be run. They're running this stuff right now. Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniels, even Dan Campbell in a way. And I don't know, you could say 50-50 on that because I think the way he runs his team really helps out his offense, but I think the guy we're about to talk about really, really makes that team go on offense. So I don't really know whether to consider Dan Campbell an offensive coach. Many, many more guys than that, changing how the sport is played and coached. The football is developing. The NFL is developing. And I, for one, am eager to get the next in line in that next young offensive coach. Ben Johnson from the Detroit Lions, offensive coordinator. He coached this Lions offense to a 12-win season and topped the NFC North for the first time since 1993. Think about that. That is crazy. That is 30 years. While some say he needs a couple more years as a coordinator, I'm willing to give him a chance and let him transform this team. I don't think there's going to be another coach like that on the market for a while, with that kind of potential, I'd say. I'm willing to give him a chance. We just need to hire a great DC next to him. And we might have 2 top 10 units next year. Now, if we go back to that list I was talking about, maybe 1 or 2 of these guys don't get a head coaching job. They don't get the recruitment they're looking for because this coaching class is just, is stacked. So, you could look at a guy like Steve Wilkes, who might not get picked up. Maybe even Mike McDonald might not get picked up for a head coaching job. I don't know. If you bring one of those guys in with Ben Johnson as the head coach and then you could hire really whatever at offensive coordinator. He's going to run that offense. Ben Johnson is going to run that offense. We really could have 2 top 10 units in the NFL. Then there's Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh is an offensive coach. He's not a young one. but he is another option, and one that I'm not so sure on. As you probably know, if you're a Seahawks fan, you've been a Seahawks fan for a while, Harbaugh had quite the beef with Carroll and the Hawks during his time in San Fran. We hated him, and he hated us. We did not like each other. So with Pete still here as whatever role he'll play in the front office, do we really see that going smoothly? I, for one, don't think so. Yeah, I think Ben Johnson is definitely the best option. But that's going to do it for this video. We talked about the defense, how it could possibly get better, and who I think should be next in line as coach of our Seattle Seahawks. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. As you can probably tell, this is my first video. I'm not too good at this yet. I'm gonna get better. So stick with me. Drop a subscription. Leave a like. Become part of this journey with me, man. I plan on bringing really good Seahawks content. A younger voice of the Seahawks. I don't really see a lot of younger voices for Seahawks fans. So I really wanted to get on here and just start this up this year, this offseason. So let me know what you think. Drop it down in the comments. And thanks for watching. And as always, go Hawks!